Are we live? Well, very good. It's always good to be alive. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lakewood City Council agenda for this Monday, March 3, 2025. Welcome to the month of March, which means that we are closer to spring than we were last week. We appreciate your attendance here tonight, and for those of you watching from home, again, welcome. Madam Clerk, if you'd please call the roll.
Councilmember Bell. Here. Councilmember Boki.
Here.
Councilmember Branstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Lauricella.
Here.
Councilmember Pearson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Moss. Here. And Mayor Whalen.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now, if you'd please stand and join me in a brief moment of silence in honor of our servicemen and women serving this great country at home and abroad, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We first turn to the proclamation and presentation section of tonight's agenda, and the first proclamation we have is that recognizing March 2025 as Red Cross Month. And for this, I'd like to call on Randy Gilbert, the Board of Directors of the local American Red Cross for the South Puget Sound Olympic region, to receive the proclamation with me.
Afternoon, Mayor Wade. Already.
Yeah,
Yes.
welcome. Well, it goes without saying that many of us have witnessed over the last year, if not the last several years, a plethora of both certainly natural disasters as well as other calamities at home and abroad. And it goes without saying that the Red Cross is and has been there at every turn. It's with great pride that the City of Lakewood presents the American Red Cross, the local chapter of this proclamation. Whereas in 1881, Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross, turning her steadfast dedication for helping others into a bold mission of preventing and alleviating people's suffering. And whereas more than 140 years later, we honor the kindness and generosity of Red Cross volunteers here in Lakewood who continue to carry out Clara's life-saving legacy. And whereas residents of Lakewood, having joined millions of people across the United States who volunteer, who give blood, who donate financially, or learn vital life-preserving skills through the Red Cross. And whereas the contributions of local Red Cross volunteers give hope to the most vulnerable in their darkest hours, whether providing emergency shelter, food, and comfort for families devastated by local disasters, donating essential blood, supporting service members and veterans, along with their families and caregivers, through the unique challenges of military life, by helping to save the lives of others with first aid, CPR, and other skills, or delivering international humanitarian aid. And whereas this humanitarian spirit is part of the foundation of our city here, and we work to prevent and alleviate human suffering, it's vital to strengthening our community's resilience. And whereas we dedicate this month of March to all those who continue to advance the noble legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, who lived by her words, "You must never think of anything except the need and how to meet it." And now, therefore, the Lakewood City Council does hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as Red Cross Month, and we urge all residents to support its mission and join in the commitment to giving back to the community. Proclaim this third day of March 2025, all members of the Lakewood City Council. Sir, thank you very much for your service to all of us here in this community on behalf of the City Council.
Yeah.
We are so much appreciative for the efforts of the Red Cross here in our community as well as abroad.
Thank you, Mayor
The
Wade.
floor is yours.
Yes, sir. I want to thank Mayor Whalen for this proclamation. It's an awesome partnership that we have with the community. And there's nothing like having a family stand behind you. The American Red Cross after every 8 minutes, has a disaster in this community. I don't think everybody really understands the impact of every 8 minutes, there's a disaster in this community. And then Mayor talked about the assistance for the community on the service members. Every day, the Red Cross provides about 1,400 services to the military community, their family, and their veterans. That is a great lot of work, and I'm glad I'm a part of that. I'm a retired veteran of 31 years from the U.S. Army. So sir, that was great and awesome. I'm glad you recognize the commitment and the sacrifices that we make to our community. And last but not least, persons can make a difference. Join us today by donating, giving blood, being blood donor ambassadors, and making sure that the small donation makes a big impact. When I was a young fella, and I'm gonna date myself, back in the 1990s, and a lot of people say, whoa, yeah, that's back then. I didn't even know what Red Cross was. But my wife got very sick. And they sent a Red Cross message. They said, you have a Red Cross message. I was a young soldier at that time. I had no idea what they were talking about. But then they came and they said, hey, we're gonna take care of your ticket and we're gonna get you home back to your family. That right there said, Randy, you need to be part of that team also. So ever since 1990, I gave $5. I started with $5 a month. People said, well, that's not a lot of money. It makes a big impact on a young fella like me that had no money and didn't understand what I was gonna be able to do with that. But with that, sir, I thank you for your time and for that, and I want to salute you from us at American Red Cross.
Randy, we're going to take a photograph up here. Randy, thank you for those comments. We're going to take a quick photograph. It just reminded me, as a young military officer myself in Germany, I was the recipient of a Red Cross message in 1988 when my sister was dying of cancer. So I was called back here, and by the grace of the Red Cross, I was able to get home. So.
The impact. American Red Cross.
It's huge. And I served on the board for 6 years here in Tacoma Pierce County. So,
Thank
yeah.
you, sir.
Well, thank you.
This is the young lady
Mhm.
nominated for that scholarship.
The presidential one of them. Yeah.
She's.
Yeah, and she wanted to know, right? Yeah. Next, we have the Youth Council report, and I'd like to call on our youth councils that are present. I believe that Alexandra, you're here, so come on up. I want to recognize you for a few things. I recognize her, and then she can do the report. We'll just switch it up a little bit. Come on up.
Good, how are you? Nice to see you.
I heard you had a nice day.
I did have a good
Yeah.
day, yeah.
Well, this young lady has had an awesome day, and we're going to let her chat a little bit about it in a second as part of her youth council report. But Alexandra Corona Hernandez has received the University of Washington's Presidential Scholarship today in a special ceremony at your school that I was hoping to be there, but I couldn't because of work commitments. But Deputy Mayor Moss was there, and I believe Councilmember Branstetter was there today, or at least Deputy Mayor Moss was able to make it today. And we also want to tell you that in addition to that, because, you know, one scholarship a day is not enough. You have to have more than one. The Lakewood First Lions Club and the Lakewood City Council would like to congratulate you as well on your outstanding community service record. Your record resulted in your nomination by me as the mayor of the city for the Association of Washington Cities Quality Community Scholarship. We're proud of your efforts, and we'd like to award you a Lakewood Quality Community Scholarship of additional $750 provided by the Lakewood First Lions Club as well as members of the Lakewood City Council. These scholarship funds will be paid to your account at the college or university of your choice, provided it's Gonzaga. You can go somewhere else. You can go somewhere else. You have to have your student accounts department forward the letter of acceptance that includes your student ID number to the Lakewood First Lions Club. Mr. Brandstetter can help you with that. And you have until January 1, 2026 to take receipt of those funds. So Alexander, we hope you take these well-deserved funds as thanks for your participation and service to this community, as well-deserved pride in all that you've accomplished over the past 4 years. So we look forward to hearing more about your next 4 years of college service. And I'm going to give you the chance to say a little bit about what today means to you and your family. And then you can do the pedantic youth council report after all that wonderful opportunity.
Okay. Hi, council. Today at school, I was awarded the University of Washington Presidential Scholarship, which the admissions officer told me was awarded to 17 students out of the 73,000 applicants. So I'd like to thank everyone for all the support, especially with like working and being involved in the city of Lakewood. This accomplishment wouldn't have been able to like be achieved without this like amazing city and the support that they give me. So I'd like to thank everyone in the city, especially Shannon, who I've worked very closely with throughout like the last 2 years. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you all. Okay.
We're going to take a quick photograph together. Shannon, you come on up too, and other council members too, youth council members. We'll do a photograph, then we'll let you guys do your report. I'll let you guys come on up. Oh, yeah,
Good evening, Mayor Whalen, Deputy Mayor Moss, and Council. My name is Zoe Clifford, and I am a junior at Steilacoom High School. On Saturday, February 22nd, I participated in the Beloved Community Workshop with 7 of my youth council colleagues. Dr. John Scott had us engage in a few activities and discussions about what we felt contributes and what diminishes the traits of a beloved community. We focused on some experiences in which we felt we belonged or didn't belong to a beloved community. I think my biggest takeaway from this workshop was that everyone has their own experiences and lives, whether they differ in different ways or they are the same or different in their own ways. Everyone has had their own experiences, and it's something to remember when talking and interacting with other individuals. And now I'll turn it over to Alex to complete our report.
Hi, council. My name is Alexandra Corona Hernandez, and I'm a current senior at Harrison Prep. In Youth Council, we're currently working on planning our Youth Summit event on April 12th that will be at Harrison Prep from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Currently planned, we have some interactive breakout sessions that include self-advocacy, college preparation, goal setting, turning passions into careers, and environmental sustainability. We also have planned a vendor summit with 24 vendors who are confirmed and a fun zone that will include games, an interactive community art project that's focused on the beloved community, a game truck, and a photo booth. We're going to provide lunch as a grab and go that will be provided by Chick-fil-A as well as a coffee cart, and we're currently trying to get a donation from Chick-fil-A for the food. We're currently finalizing council's roles and their participation activity in this summit, and we're thinking of having a team building activity similar how we had them at the kickoff event. We're also planning our second youth council event, which we will be working with the Asian Pacific Cultural Center to learn how to make smash burgers on Friday, April 25th, 2025. However, we're still trying to lock down a place for the event, but we're trying to aim for the Boys and Girls Club. This concludes our presentation, and we are happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Bell.
Hi, thank you for a great presentation and hearing about everything, and congratulations on your scholarships. Go back to the smash burger thing.
Ashford.
Sorry. So you
Yes.
had me at that. What are the details on that?
So we want to do like a cooking and craft event for the youth in Lakewood. And we want to like teach them how to make smash burgers at this event. So we're trying to lock down a place with a kitchen so that there could be like an interactive lesson on it.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, keep us posted.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Moss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say congratulations and I'm so proud of you. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to extend thanks from this side of the podium again to all of you for all the great work you're doing. We look forward to the Youth Summit and the fine work you continue to do on behalf of the community in your capacity as youth council members, and certainly Alexandra, great job.
Thank
We're
you.
all very proud and very humbled by your service. So thank you for that. Yeah,
Thank you,
very good.
guys.
Yeah.
Evening.
Yep, you all too. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we now turn to the public comment portion of tonight's agenda. Public comments are accepted by mail, email, or live, virtual, or in-person comment. Comments may be submitted in advance by mail or email to the city clerk, Ms. Brianna Schumacher, at 6000 Main Street Southwest here in Lakewood, or by email to her email address, bschumacher@cityoflakewood.us. Comments received up to an hour before the meeting have been provided to the clerk and city council electronically, and the clerk will read the names of those who have submitted comments in advance.
Mayor, we received written comments in advance from Rob and Jill Jensen.
Very well, thank you very much. Tonight, members of the audience may comment on items pertaining to city business under the public comment period. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. We simply ask for our record that you identify yourself and your residence, such as Paul Boki, Lakewood, Washington, and then you'll receive your 3 minutes to proceed. Virtual comments are certainly welcome. If you'd like to provide live virtual comment, please join the Zoom meeting as an attendee by calling the telephone number 253-215-8782. Enter the meeting ID number 868-7263-2373. And once in the room, please use the raise the hand feature to be recognized and called upon when ready. So I'll first call on those folks who are here in person, and then I will call on those who are appearing on Zoom. So the first individual who has signed in on the public comment sheet is Fred Feller. And again, if you're here and you haven't had a chance to sign in, that's okay. Just line up at the podium and we'll be happy to call on you.
Good evening, Mayor Whalen, Deputy Mayor Moss, and members of the City Council. My name is Fred Feller, and I have been a resident of Lakewood since 1977. I'm here this evening to help make the residents of the city of Lakewood aware of a workshop focusing on African American genealogy. For many African Americans, learning about ancestors and finding personal stories about those ancestors can be challenging. In order to honor the contribution of African Americans to their communities, the Tacoma Family Search Center is hosting a free workshop and lunch concentrating on strategies how to find records, information about African American ancestry. This is the 4th year that the Tacoma Family Search Center has conducted this seminar. The theme of the workshop this year is Family Ties That Unite Us. I have provided each of the members with a poster flyer that gives further information, including the QR code, how to register. As noted on the workshop or on the flyer, the workshop will be held on March 22nd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Family Search Center at 1102 South Pearl Street, Tacoma. Attendees will hear from experts on how to use research tools to find their African American ancestors and how to preserve their own personal story for their descendants. Thanks to the partnership between Family Search International, the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, and the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society, the historical records of over 4 million men, women, and children of African descent are now searchable online without cost. This workshop will teach and assist attendees how to use these databases as well as others to build their family stories. This year, the keynote speaker will be Ethelda Burke of the University Place School District. She is also a longtime, on the University Place School Board and a longtime educator with Tacoma Schools. Other major presentations will include where to start, one name, resources, in other words, to use one name to start and find more names and people. Plantations and reservations, focusing on the unique and unexpected connections between African Americans and Native Americans. And there will be entertainment at lunchtime featuring Markel Harris, who will be demonstrating African drum rhythms. In conclusion, I note that family is a term that carries deep emotional weight and significance. It encompasses more than just biological ties. It represents a range of relationships, experiences, and shared memories that shape who we are. When we think about what defines a family, we often reflect on the bonds that unite us, be it through blood, love, or shared experiences. In the words of Henry Louis Gates, we stand on the shoulders of ancestors who endured incredible hardships so that we could be born. We must honor them by finding them and remembering their names and passing their stories to future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate that. That was the last individual who signed in on the sign-in sheet, but as I indicated, let that not deter you. If you'd like to provide public comment tonight, feel free to step up to the podium and just provide your name and residence for the record, and you'll have your 3 minutes. So if there's anyone out there in the audience who'd like to provide public comment? Seeing none in the audience, I'll turn to those who may be appearing virtually. Madam Clerk, we have a few. It appears the first is Mr. Dennis Haugen.
Dennis Haugen from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. If you don't know where it's located between Minnesota and Washington State, with a couple other states in between as well. But South Dakota, of course, is not a sanctuary state, and our governor just became the head of Homeland Security, and she vows to remove illegal immigrants from the United States, particularly those that have committed crimes. Now, what I'm wondering about is you've done a lot of rezoning, and you've made it possible to attach small single-family units to large single-family units, which is somewhat incompatible. But if you're one of those states that doesn't allow certain questions or give out certain information, it's pretty hard for landlords. So you could very easily end up with a person renting in your neighborhood that is not only an illegal immigrant, but has committed some serious crimes around the United States and then been returned loose without hardly any bail or anything. One of the things I noticed about 8 years ago, I picked up or found a card. It supposedly was an EBT card that did not have a name on it, picture on it, fingerprint, anything identifying who the user could be, because the PIN number was issued with it. And there wasn't even really an address where you could turn it in. But I did copy that, and I passed it out there at the city council about 7, 8 years ago. What's even more interesting, and now that we have an audit, and it is an audit, Elon Musk is an auditor, and the president is still the boss. They're just uncovering just immense amount of ways that monies are being either misused, wrongfully used, or even criminally used. And that audit will most likely It's very popular out amongst many people, and it'll most likely keep a lot of investigations going for quite a long time. And so anyway, we're not a sanctuary city, you are, and Minnesota is, and it's going to be interesting. Thank you.
Next appears to be Christina Minetti.
Hello, I've got two comments, one for Gary Oak Coalition and one for myself. First, Christina Minetti, Gary Oak Coalition, Lakewood. We'd like to propose that Lakewood make 2025 the year of ivy eradication, the year that Lakewood prioritizes publicizing the need for residents to take ivy eradication seriously, and that it takes steps to enact legislation that would facilitate this. The city is full of trees covered in ivy, including the ecological crucial, very slow-growing Gary Oaks, which are supposed to enjoy special protections in Washington state. Put quite simply, ivy kills. Tree by tree, ivy is destroying our tree canopy, and with it our shade, our air and water quality, our wildlife habitat, and our ecosystem. And no one in the city seems to take much interest. Last year, an oak on Brook Lane that was probably at minimum 195 years old was so heavily covered in ivy that it began collapsing onto the road. It was cut down illegally. Ivy was removed from one other oak adjacent to it, but others remained covered in ivy, and more could share that poor oak's sad fate, completely needlessly. After having finally succeeded in talking to the homeowner, or maybe it was the tenant, offering to have our organization's volunteers remove the ivy and save the trees, he told me that he had already contacted the city and was waiting for response. He said the ivy's the only thing holding them up probably, and so it sounded, to our dismay, that he probably had asked for permission to cut down one or more trees, including oaks. One of the ivy-covered oaks seems as if it could be also in the city's right-of-way. I wrote to the city on February 24th to ask the city's help with this urgent problem, but have not yet received any acknowledgement of receipt nor a reply. We would like to ask the city deny permission to cut down those trees, including oaks, which are probably still salvageable, and instead have them remove the ivy, with our help if necessary. The oaks recover quickly after ivy is removed. Those oaks are in practical terms irreplaceable, and the city should do everything in its power to preserve them. We would like to ask where the mitigation is for that first Gary Oak that was illegally cut down. According to WDFW's 2024 recommendations, 50 new oaks should have been planted. Where are they? As has been mentioned before, the city could put ivy on its list of things inspectors check when evaluating rental property as a way of putting this pressing issue on property owners' radars. This oak on Brook Lane is just one example. Many, many others are all around Lakewood. We're sure that the city can devise many other practical ways to ensure that this is the year that Lakewood's ivy eradication efforts begin in earnest. Thank you. And now I have a comment on my own behalf.
Sure, just a sec. Well, let's restart the clock for you. Hold on just a
Oh,
sec.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm Christina Minetti. I'm from Lakewood. I've lived in Lakewood for over 50 years, and I can remember when it was a pretty nice place. One of those pretty nice places was the former QFC shopping center, which opened in 1978 when I was in 5th grade, originally with a Lucky grocery store in there. There were other nice shops there too, including a neat ethnic craft shop and a creperie, and of course, Lakewood's favorite and only bagel shop, where the cribbage players, I think that's what that game is called, would congregate early on Sunday mornings, a cozy meeting place. It still had its Gary Oaks until rather recently, gracefully arching over the property. There was a large clump close to the building in a corner, as well as one on the northern exit onto 93rd Street. There was another just near the entrance on Motor Avenue, and one next to the former Ethan Allen building, then later FedEx building, cut down for the CVS drive-through. As Mr. Rodriguez informed me at the time, he added, "You don't expect a developer to build around a tree, do you?" And I had to tell him that, yes, actually, I do think that they should build around a tree. They do that elsewhere. Of course, probably someone holding an arborist diploma was found that said the oaks were dying and dangerous, like they do all over the place, whenever someone wants to cut one down. The atmosphere in that shopping center under the oaks was really nice. We used to stop there on the way home from school. This past week, the city of Lakewood sent a wrecking ball to demolish this place. People were reminiscing on Facebook about what a nice place it was. And I was shocked to see that the mayor piped up to say, after all those sad comments of regret, beautiful start with no sympathy for what those residents were expressing. A start to what? Couldn't the city have contributed to making it a thriving place again instead of knocking it down for a park that will undoubtedly cause plenty of trouble for the neighborhood? Making a park is the easy way for Lakewood to make a PR buck, an easy thing to point out as something for the public good, easy to knock something down, easy to roll out the turf and put a bench, if you don't mind, the homeless sitting on it eventually. No more bagel shop, no more nice shops, no more Gary Oaks, no more nice atmosphere and place for people to go and be and shop and live. The city has some weight. It has to has to use that weight to convince developers, property owners to do things that make Lakewood a better place instead of having this property there for over a decade. It was over a decade, right? Just kind of rotting, getting, squatters in it. It was a horrible thing. I don't know what was going on. I know there were legal problems, but anyway, now there will be a scrap of a park across from the abandoned Lakewood Theater that could also be nice, and among the abandoned shopping center buildings. For what? Thank you.
Next, James Dunlop.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is James Dunlop, and I am a resident of Lakewood. So I've got this book on my shelf, and it's by Barbara Ehrenreich, and it's called Bright-Sided: How the Relentless Promotion of Positive Thinking Has Undermined America. And I think positive thinking can be a problem because positive thinking actually prevents you from actually doing something about a problem if it actually exists. And I think that in terms of Lakewood, this is a real issue because as far as I can see, sort of listening to council members, the mayor, city bureaucrats, there is this view put out that things in Lakewood are improving, that Lakewood is wonderful. And, as I've said on quite a few occasions, I mean, I'm an outsider, and listening to people who have lived in Lakewood for a long time, clearly people are saying that the city is in decline, and it has been in decline for a long time, even before it became a city. I don't know when that decline started. Some would argue it happened with the building of the I-5. Some would say that it was with incorporation, but it is on a decline. Some of that decline is not nothing to do with the city council. It is to do with what's going on in the state, what's going on in the country, indeed what's going on in the world, and so there may be limits to what you can do, but overall it is in decline, and everything is sort of parceled out. Clearly, the education system is in decline. The public education system. You listen to, how the Clover Park School District give wonderful reports about their wonderful graduation rates, and clearly, if you look at the actual figures. The school district, in terms of actual test results over a 10-year period going back to 2013, it used to, around then, Lakewood results were about on state average, and they're sort of going down. And it seems that the city needs to recognize that things are going downhill, and you point to things that are wonderful, your pet projects, whether it's the H-Barn or this park or what we're doing here, as you try to get people to focus on the positives, and you don't actually see that things are in decline. Maybe you can't see. Maybe it is a problem that it is about the relentless promotion of positive thinking, as Barbara Ehrenreich has mentioned. If you can't see the problem, you can't fix the problem. And it seems to me that Lakewood really is in decline, and the current city council and the current city have done nothing about it, and things are just going to get moved from bad to worse.
That is the last hand I see raised on the virtual public comment screen. Madam Clerk, unless you see any others.
Mayor, there are no other virtual hands raised at this time.
Very good. Then I will positively declare the public comment period closed. We'll now turn to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
A, approval of the minutes of the city council study session of February 10th, 2025. B, approval of the minutes of the city council meeting of February 18th, 2025. C, approval of claims vouchers in the amount of $4,514,027.24 for the period of January 16th, 2025 through February 14th, 2025. D, approval of payroll checks in the amount of $3,253,612.39 for the period of January 16th, 2025 through February 15th, 2025. E, motion number 2025-13, authorizing the execution of an agreement with KBH Construction in the amount of $286,370 for the installation of new park signs. F, motion number 2025-14, authorizing the execution of an interlocal agreement with Lakewood Water District for construction of a water main along Interlochen Drive between Washington Boulevard and 112th Street.
An education thing, yeah. Thank you very much. Is there any item which any council member wishes to remove from consent agenda consideration at this time? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented? It's been moved by Councilmember Brandstetter, seconded by Councilmember Lauricella, that we adopt the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda has been adopted. We now turn to the regular agenda. We have no unfinished business, so we turn to new business. Madam Clerk, first motion.
Motion number 2025-15, authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with GMP Consultants for city manager recruitment services.
Thank you. And for this, we have our assistant to the city manager, Mr. Michael Vargas, to give us a bit of an overview of the subcommittee as comprised by council and their work. Mr. Vargas.
Sure. Well, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Council members. I'm looking at page 107 of your packet tonight. Going over the agenda bill here for a quick overview. It is recommended that the City Council ratify by motion the city manager's contract with GMP Consultants to conduct the city manager recruitment process. We are doing this because our current city manager is retiring, and bringing on a firm is the most efficient way to go about a city manager recruitment process. Previously, consultants were selected back in 2013 to conduct a recruitment process as well. To go over the subcommittee a bit, the subcommittee comprised of Mayor Whalen, Deputy Mayor Moss, and Councilmember Bell. They reviewed and compared proposals from both GMP Consultants and Karis Consulting. The subcommittee also interviewed both candidate firms. You can find the subcommittee's input and comparison within the memo itself. And with that, I'll hand it out back to you, Mayor Whalen, as part of that subcommittee. So
Sure, thank you.
concludes my presentation.
Unless anyone has any particular questions of Mr. Vargas, members of the subcommittee are happy to field any questions by other members of the council. Seeing none, do we have a motion to adopt motion 2025-15?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Boki, seconded by Councilmember Pearson, that we adopt motion 2025-15. Any further discussion? Mr. Brandstetter.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to thank you and the Deputy Mayor and Councilmember Bell for working as a subcommittee to sort through the options that we had here to be able to do this. I did want to ask the three of you a question with respect to the project work plan that is in the action that we have here today, and it's on page 132 of our packet.
Okay.
And 132.
132 of the actual numbered, yeah, it would be, let me get there.
120.
120, okay. but for whatever reason, it's.
Yeah, it's
the page is
numbered
done
one
different on the bottom of
32.
mine.
Correct, yeah,
In
132.
in any
on the
event,
page.
I was just concerned in your discussions with
Mhm.
the folks here.
Mhm.
One thing that was, struck me about the work plan is that the city council isn't mentioned at all. It talks about the commissioner working with staff and coordinating with staff and keeping staff informed, being able to go and do that. And there's no mention at all about us. And so I guess I'm wondering in your discussions with the representative,
Mhm.
exactly how does this contractor plan to interact with the seven of us?
No, very good question, and I'm happy to chime in initially. So I think, Mr. Branstetter, point well taken. Task number 2, where he references key stakeholder meetings and staff provided information. The key stakeholder meetings would be intentionally with each of the individual council members. I think the plan was for the designated Prothman individual who happens to, I think her name is Debbie. I've got my notes here. Second. Hold on just a minute. The key individual who's going to be running it, Debbie Terry. She used to be a city manager for Shoreline for 10 years, retired in November of 2022. She was an assistant city manager prior to that. She has 38 years in local government, currently lives in Tacoma. So she's going to, quote unquote, honcho the process. And her intent, as I recall, was to individually meet with each one of us separately and to glean our individual thoughts about the attributes, skills that each of us believes that we want to see in the next council member. Then there may be an opportunity for kind of a global group conversation. We invited her to attend with us the March 29 retreat of the council to kind of hear our conversation about the city's priorities for the next few years, which is kind of the focus of that retreat, so that she can kind of hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, as a body. And I think that is her intent. The other key stakeholder meetings will be those that we help identify for her, other than key executive staff. Obviously, you know, all the directors of the city would be key stakeholders, but we are invited to identify those other members of the community that would be key stakeholders for them to reach out, such as perhaps the superintendent of the school district, maybe the president of the Chamber of Commerce, maybe the presidents of the citizen advisory boards and commissions, or other members of those commissions, and other stakeholders that we deem appropriate for them to reach out to help develop that profile, the candidate profile that we will ultimately review and bless before it goes out to print. So that is the first part. The second part, on the touch base with us over the course of time, and you're correct, this work plan probably could be a little bit more specific about touch base with the council, but they will very periodically, typically after it goes out from the profile that we develop, they've met with the directors, they've gleaned the culture, the issues that are important to us, they've reached out and communicate with those other stakeholders that we've identified for them, then they will ultimately start getting the communication flowing and advertising for candidates. Once they get about 12 to 14 finalists gleaned from maybe the larger pool, we will receive detailed consultant notes, and we will select ultimately the finalist interview from their recommended listing. And then they'll help design that process for us, whether we ultimately have individual panels of council members or community panels with council members. So we get to design that process on how it will go from there, because every city is unique and they've done lots of different searches, but they know that every city has different needs and wants and desires. So, and we just need to tell them up front how much we want to be involved in. So there's plenty of opportunity for us.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to reassure myself that conversation had been a topic of what is going on.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
that we'll be able to do that and with some transparency as the process moves forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You know, just to kind of put it out there, again, the subcommittee members, please feel free to chime in on this. It's appropriate. I asked them from their perspective, because they're doing a number of searches for different communities concurrently. Like, I think they're searching for the city of Kenmore, I believe, right now. Medina, a bunch of other cities locally, North Bend. And I said, you know, does that negatively impact a city like Lakewood who's engaging at the same sort of time period? And they said, no, to the contrary. It can be very helpful to a city like Lakewood because when they attract a good body of candidates, whether regionally or nationally, to consider coming to Washington State, there may be one candidate that fits better with, say, the city of Kenmore, or other candidates who may have applied, but they may be better suited to Lakewood. And so they'll be able to kind of have those conversations by casting a much wider net in their work regionally. So I was somewhat positive about that. The interesting thing on the, I don't want to say not so positive side, is that the applicant pool, because of, shall we say, the aging of the population of skilled professional management, the applicant pool from their perspective has diminished over the last few years. And due to COVID or other reasons, there isn't necessarily the same level of farm team as you might see with assistant city managers across the nation that there might have been 5 to 10 years ago. So we have to be prepared that the applicant pool, instead of getting, say, 25 applicants, we might get 10 to 14. And to expect that we're not going to get as many as we might have, say, 10 or 12 years ago. The other thing that they wanted to impress upon us as a council was, you know, there are in these searches increased sort of pressure points on compensation packages. And we talked about, you know, what that meant from their perspective, and, you know, where we are potentially with the current manager's package of pay and benefits that we all passed on recently. And they felt that we were in the range with what, you know, we're currently paying. So that gave us some comfort, but they wanted us to be prepared to be flexible on that.
One last question. When they talked about a diminished pool, did they suggest that some of the finalists might be individuals who wanted to become city managers for the first time, as opposed to restricting ourselves to people who had city manager experience in perhaps smaller communities?
Sure. We didn't noodle over that specifically, but if that is this council's consensus direction to make sure that we seek more experienced level candidates, we can certainly articulate that when they meet with us individually. Any other questions? Good questions, though. Well, very good. Well, thank you. And thanks to the subcommittee members for taking the time. Thank you to Mr. Vargas for coordinating. It is important to note that we are, by this motion tonight, giving the manager the authority to execute the contract. It'll be administered and facilitated in part by staff, but it is our hiring decision. So we are going to be very much in the lead on the process. So we have a motion, we have a second. In the absence of any further discussion, all those in favor of adoption of motion 2025-15 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We can now proceed with that. Thank you, Mr. Vargas. Let them know, and please send a thank you to the folks at Karis. We had a good conversation with them as well. And as your memo indicated, there were just some things we were looking for that were a little different with the GMP group. So thank you. Next, we'll turn to reports by the city manager, Mr. Caulfield.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. Got a handful of updates for you this evening. Just a little bit ago, you approved a contract to install park signs throughout the city's park system that will get going here this spring and into the summer. I also wanted to let you know that within the next month or two, we'll be bringing forward to you a contract for your consideration as it relates to the installation of a new electronic reader board sign over at the Colonial Plaza. We expect to bid that out in the next couple of weeks and then bring it back to the council for, again, your review and consideration, probably sometime in April or early May. I'd also like to offer my congratulations to both the City Council and the Planning Commission with special recognition to Planning Manager Tiffany Spear. Last week, the Puget Sound Regional Council, their executive board, approved the final certification of the city's 2024 Lakewood Comprehensive Plan. As you know, this was a major 10-year update, and then some on top of that, given all the state legislative mandates that we had to incorporate on that. So certainly an above and beyond update than typically what we have to go through during those 10-year updates. But again, I just wanted to pass on that we have gotten approval from the highest levels. And also, I believe we are the first city to actually have our comprehensive plan adopted by PSRC. I know it has to go through Washington State Commerce. However, since it's gone through PSRC, we're not expecting any issues or anything significant from Commerce. Also, last week, we were notified that once again, the city received the Association of Washington Cities Well Cities Award. This is the 20th time that the city has received it, and it's almost 25 years of incorporation and the 14th in a row. And want to thank our wellness committee that was led by Carlina Alba, who chairs that committee, Josie Atkins, Bryn Grimley, Vicki Hagel, Hannah Hillig, Debbie Washburn, and Michelle Yider. Also want to call out special recognition to our Human Resources Director, Mary McDougall, for her ongoing leadership and support for making wellness a priority for all of our employees. Matter of fact, this was one of her very last updates that she provided. She actually retired last Friday after 37 years of public service, including the last 9 years here with the city of Lakewood. And on a personal note, I had the privilege of working with her early on in my career at Federal Way as well. So I got to spend about 15 years working with her, and she is certainly going to be missed. Those of you that have been down at Fort Steilacoom Park, you probably have seen that the Tensruel log is in a very safe and secure place. I want to thank the Pierce County Library System for the great partnership in moving that. We had to bring in a bunch of architects and engineers, permitting, a couple of cranes, a couple of large trucks, some construction folks, and a very specially ordered shelter, some fence specialists, and just a lot of work to bring that to fruition. And also want to recognize and thanks our parks manager, David De La Cruz, for making this new community attribute down at Fort Steilacoom Park happen. So, and I know we still have some work to do down there, including putting on the log, some of the key dates over the many hundreds of years of the life of that log. So that'll be coming here in the near future. Police Chief Patrick Smith will be before you next Monday to give you an update on 2024 LPD activity. I would like to give you a sneak peek of our crime statistics. And so in 2022, we had a decline in crime of 6.8%. In 2023, it was 3.7%. Last year, in 2024, it dropped 19%. That included violent crime dropping 3.2%, including aggravated assaults by 14.4%, which is very, very significant. On the property crime side, property crimes dropped by over 25%, led by vehicle thefts, dropping 67%, vandalism by almost 30%, stolen property by over 26%, and burglaries by almost 20%. And also through the first half of February, a little bit beyond that, violent crime is down another 16.5%, and property crime is down another almost 30%. If you're asking why is this happening, I would say that there's 4 particular reasons why it's happening. First is the public policy direction from this body. For example, a number of ordinances that you have passed. For example, No longer, it's illegal to openly use controlled substances on public property. It's also now a no-no to, sleep on public property when shelter beds are available and things along those lines. So you've done a lot to help that. Also the leadership under Chief Smith. He's been very proactive in rolling out a number of existing and amping up other programs like our retail theft emphasis, which has actually been going on more and more often than in the past, and has been very well received by the business community, as well as ongoing speed emphasis patrols. And I'd like to call attention to that gentleman hanging out front, Sergeant Charles Porsche. You might recognize him as our PIO, but he is also the man behind the legend as it relates to maintaining safe neighborhoods with his traffic team. The third area is our use of technology. And while that has come with a very, very significant financial investment, it has proven its weight in gold. For example, the flock safety system has really been the primary reason why we have driven down auto thefts. The criminal community knows, don't come to Lakewood, because they will be contacted in their stolen vehicles. And so again, that's another reason. And then the fourth reason I would say is that, the Lakewood Police Department is fully staffed. And I would say that about the whole city as well. We are an employer of choice, but particularly LPD, we do have a waiting list for folks who want to come be police officers. So we have never had to experience that problem or that challenge of being understaffed as others have. So I just wanted to, again, kind of cue up the chief. He'll be in front of you next week with much more detailed information. But again, just wanted to celebrate the great work that our police department, led by Chief Smith, is doing here in Lakewood. And certainly since incorporation, the community is much, much safer than it has ever been. As it relates to your calendar, just a heads up, tomorrow at noon, Habitat for Humanity is having their annual Changing Lives luncheon. Later on in the week, actually on Friday, and I know Mayor Whalen is probably going to bring this up under council comments, but from 9 to noon, the Pierce County Unified Regional Approach to Homelessness is they're going to have their launch of that initiative. And I know Councilmember Brandstetter will be attending on behalf of the Lakewood City Council. In addition, our planning manager, Tiffany Spear, will be attending as part of the staff team that is kind of supporting that whole initiative. So probably more to come on that. That's from 9 to noon. And certainly you're all more than welcome to attend that as well. And it's in University Place at the Pierce County Environmental Services Building. On Saturday is, I know Deputy Mayor Moss will touch on this, is the third annual Dr. Claudia Thomas Community Service Award Gala, sponsored by LMCC over at the McGavick Center. And then later on in the month, on March 26th, I believe it's a Wednesday, Community Healthcare is having their annual luncheon laughter event at the Hotel Murano. And then on March 26th, which is also on March 26th, but in the evening, we will be having our first Mayor's Coffee House down at the Fort Steilacoom Park Pavilion. And the topic will be West Pierce Emergency Management Coalition, which is a coalition of the cities of Lakewood, University Place, Town of Steilacoom, and West Pierce Fire and Rescue District as it relates to emergency preparedness and emergency response from a regional standpoint here in West Pierce County. So, and then since the Youth Council was here, I'll kind of drive into April a little bit. On Saturday, April 12th from 11 to 3 p.m., the Youth Council will be sponsoring their annual Youth Empowerment Summit at the Harrison Prep School. So with that, Mayor, that's my report.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Caulfield? Mr. Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've seen some activity related to, I think, the sewer project on Bridgeport. I just wondered if you had an update for us on anything about that.
So what I have is that they're going to be building a bypass above ground, similar, some of you might remember that they did over at Gravely Lake Drive and Lakewood Drive a number of years ago while they shut down the sewer line. And I know they're looking at a couple of options of where to run that right in the area of Walmart. And then once they have that done, then they'll be accessing the sewer lines. And it's our understanding that it's actually I see Mr. Remack here. Mr. Remack, do you have a more comprehensive update than perhaps I have? Let me call on him because he's actually been involved in this more intricately than I have.
Good evening. Yes, they'll actually be starting the potholing, should be starting in the next week or so. Probably about next week, they're looking at potholing. They're gonna have about 20 locations they'll be potholing. They ran in some right-of-way issues in the frontage of Walmart that they're looking at, so they're still investigating the route that they'll come across the street, which would affect their traffic control plan that they're looking at. So we're still having discussions when it comes to that. The first step we'll see will be just the potholing. They want to pothole all of them, but that will be a little problematic as some of them are at 28, 30 feet. So using the Vector to go down to that depth, we'll be getting some updates as to what they plan to do exactly to pothole because that depth is too great for a Vector truck.
Thanks.
Councilmember Branstetter.
Yeah, just with respect to that project and that sewer line being that deep, that is there, do you have any idea exactly how they're going to ensure the integrity of Flat Creek, since I guess the sewer line must, the one to be replaced must run underneath it?
So it really won't be an issue with the integrity of what we're looking at Flat Creek. They're looking at a spiral line product that'll actually go through the existing pipe as to what we're looking at. They need to pothole to find the side sewer connections and other branch mains that come into the main. That's going to be more of the issue what we'll be looking at. It won't be a full excavation project through this. They will have to go ahead and open the road. They'll have to bench it back due to the depth, meaning they'll step it back as to how they're going to look at it to get into the catch basins, or not the catch basins, but the sewer manholes to pull the top off so they can do the insertion and the lining work. But there won't be a full cut going down the road for all of it.
So when you talk about a spiral line, what is that in regular person terms?
So I'm gonna speak in what it'd be general terms for myself as well. This is a new product that actually has not been used that much in the US yet. It is a lining product that fully lines the pipe as it moves it down. So you actually feed it through the pipe as itself. It then hardens and gives a new inner lining to the shell. It's much like slip lining you can see on stormwater pipes. You pull a surface through and then it gives it a completely new smooth finish on the inside. It's a factor to go ahead and be utilized rather than unearthing a pipe and doing all open cuts. In the full replacement, you can get more service life out of the pipe by just relining it. So they're looking at relining.
Okay, there are a small number of residences along that area, along Flanagan and some more on the top of the hill, on the opposite side of Bridgeport from Walmart. Other than traffic, are there any impacts to their sewer service or either temporary disruptions or anything?
That hasn't been identified yet that we've seen. They are looking at the traffic because they do have a unique location coming into the road as to where they're looking to run. Currently, they're looking to run the above ground pipe for the bypass across the street from Walmart and down that side. So we do run into the issues that we're looking at with the one household that's down below, but we're currently working through that.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Boki.
So can you just quickly explain what is the problem with this line and how far does the problem exist?
So I'm gonna cut straight to the chase and what they're looking at. There are some rebar, so reinforcing structural steel goes into the pipe when we build it. There's a service life that exists. Water runs through it, wears it down eventually, and you start to have the rebar exposed. So when they went ahead and TV'd the line, meaning they sent a camera down to see what the material condition was of the pipe, they discovered rebar exposed. At that point, that would mean you're at the end of the service life of that pipe. So you have to start looking at the alternatives. You could look at a full replacement, but because of the depth of the pipe and what you look at, that means a potential shutdown for Bridgeport. That's a large impact. And that's ahead of the lifespan they were looking at for that pipe. Or you look at the alternatives to go ahead and reline the pipe. So
how do you
relining the pipe?
Do they go in and cut the rebar? Or how do you reline a pipe that has a rebar?
So
you're
you can reline
pushing
it and
plastic through, correct?
Yeah.
into a pipe that has rebar hanging there? How do you do that?
It's a 52-inch pipe. They can get down the pipe. As soon as you're doing bypass, you can clear the system and you can actually go in and do repairs.
Oh, you go in there and repair it.
Yeah, it's not a job you want necessarily, but similar to like one of my first jobs for the county.
Not a great job.
Not a great
You know,
job.
thank God there's people that
It's
do
not the
that.
tall folks like you, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd be hitting my head. and-
That actually was like one of my original jobs when I went into government.
Really?
Yeah. it was not-
Wow. So you're gonna go in, they're gonna go in and repair that because they can't take the rebar out, otherwise it gets too weak.
Nope, you would just repair it.
You
If
just
it's sticking down, you just need to remove it. You'll get full strength when what you're looking at out of the pipe with the slip line when it comes through. So the idea is really being able to pull it all the way through and then get it set.
Okay, thank you.
So is there not gonna be like a full shutdown on Bridgeport is kind of what I'm hearing? There's gonna be maybe some intermittent traffic issues with once they get things set up, but it shouldn't be too bad?
No, so the idea will be to have one lane of traffic open at all times. They will need to go ahead and open the road to get the top sections of the manholes out for them to do their insertion and to perform the work. So we'll be down to one lane in each direction of traffic during the primary when we're doing the work. While we're doing the potholing, it'll be temporary closures while they pothole and while they set up the pumps. And then once that's set, we'll see it in the future.
Gotcha, thanks.
Yep.
Anything else? Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Caulfield, on that? Nope. Great. Okay, council, we'll turn to council comments. Why don't we start with Mr. Boki?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pleasure to attend along with some other council members, the EDB annual meeting at the convention center. I am pleased. I think it was of all the times I've gone with the city of Lakewood, I know we had a break during COVID and whatnot. We had 3 projects on the Excellent 10, and I think that may be a record. I don't know, but really proud. The first one was the Emergency Food Network warehouse that you all know over on 96th, I think it is. And that was also done by Corsmo Construction. So it's a 21,600 square foot warehouse that the city of Lakewood put money into. The other one was Mountain Construction Office Building. Mountain Construction's been a regional builder here for a long, long time. They built out on 90th Street South, a 33,173 square foot state-of-the-art facility, warehouse office building. And then the other one was interesting. It was the Clover Park Technical College Job Skills Program. And it provides training to meet employers' specific needs. The tool enhances economic growth and workforce competitiveness. And they provide training to new and current employees at work or in a classroom. For old employees or current employees, those would be called upskilling, which is an important thing going on in our economy, or certainly an important need in our economy going forward. And so the program has secured over $1 million in job skills. And I was talking to Mr. Remack the other day, and I guess as part of that whole thing, they're doing we won't make him come up again, people learning to be poll guys. He'll explain, and it's very interesting. Thank you.
So just like in Meridian, they're looking to do a pole farm for lineman training here locally at Clover Park. The idea being you can learn to do the professional work without having to go to Astoria, Oregon, where one of the training locations is, or going over to Meridian in Idaho. So it'll be a small pole farm. We've been working on that permit recently with them in terms of setting that up and the installation of that.
Thank you very much for saving me. Very important skill, clearly, when the lights go off and you expect them to go on in the next 10 minutes, no matter how bad the weather. If you're me, you're just like, why isn't it going back on? Why can't they fix this? They should have fixed this 10 minutes ago. very important skill, very high paying profession for very good reasons, that for those of you who like to climb poles in bad weather and deal with high voltage electricity. So it was a good day, I think, and kudos to our staff. Ms. Newton was there, and to all the other folks who have economic development efforts really coming to fruition. I thought it was a good day for Lakewood. And so with that, then we've got another planning commission meeting on Wednesday. They're going to start work on the comp plan amendments. I think they're also dealing with the multifamily tax exemption. So, and then a SHAPE meeting on Friday.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
Member
Mr. Mayor.
Branstetter, we'll go to the other end of the table here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as the city manager mentioned, I'm going to attend the what is the advertised as a kickoff meeting for the contractor that the county has employed to assist the municipalities within the county in developing a uniform plan and approach to homelessness. I've actually been working with the group of people involved with this program for about 9 months. And so I was on the committee that helped review all the people that applied for this, which is a $1 million contract for 3 years of work to be able to go and do that, and to go on. And I got a chance to listen to comments from a lot of the other communities about what homelessness looks like to them, and it varies greatly. Some people are very concerned, and it looks like Tacoma is viewed of a lot of tentage and people living in public places, whereas in other places that are either further east or further western in the county, it's not so much the numbers, but that the fact that there's a great distance to any services for the few that they have to be able to go and do that. That we in DuPont, particularly spoke about. We were really concerned about the impact of homelessness on veterans and wanting there to be things to do that. And that was done against a background of a lot of money being put against homelessness, but it not the money not being sent to programs that themselves tied to each other. And so that was the idea of what where they're trying to get to be able to go and do that. So again, this meeting on Friday is essentially the contractor saying that they're on the ground and they've got a plan and this is how they want to proceed and this is what they need to know so that they can proceed, and they're asking for representatives from multiple communities to come to this meeting on Friday to be able to go and do that. I did appreciate the city manager informing us about us again being identified as a well city, and we should note that that's more than just getting a sign to put up that says well city, but that it is actually a significant fiscal impact as it impacts some of our insurance costs and things to be able to go and do that. And having gone to most of the AWC conventions, annual meetings to do that, I know that fewer than 50% of the cities and towns in the state actually achieve well city status. And maybe many of the smaller ones don't, but it has to do with the fact that they don't really have a team by Miss Alba and her associates on our team that actually put together the program that allows you to qualify. And the fact that we've been able to do that consistently is actually significant. And I think that it does impact the health of our workforce and the safety of our workforce, being able to go and do that. I attended the honor walk for Chief Leschi last Friday. I was glad to see that the attendance was significant and that it was also a mix of folks who had some tribal affiliation or doing that, but also a good number of folks who were Lakewood citizens and are looking to do that and are sensitive to the history and of things and of sort of just sort of wanting to know what's really going on and being able to go and do that. And during the course of that walk, the walk went past the Tensler log, where it is now safely cocooned in a place of where it's not within arm's reach to reach out and touch it, really. But I was both in having people who talk with me, but in eavesdropping of people about the great deal of interest and discussions about it and curiosity about its history and of being able to go through and do far more so than I ever heard of around people who happen to notice it at the library. So I think that we have moved forward in that, and that the work that we did with the library district and the cost to find it a permanent but prominent home is well worthwhile to it. And I guess the last thing that I would comment about is during public comment today, there was discussions about people thinking that the city is in decline. Okay, and I will acknowledge that there are many people in Lakewood that acknowledge that Lakewood is changing. Okay, but change and decline are not the same thing. Okay, you may not like change. Okay, so you may decide to choose decline to do that. But listen to the city manager's statistics on criminal and public safety that goes on. Okay, when I talk to people about, sometimes they don't like everything that we put in every park, but nobody disagrees that the parks aren't many times better than they were 20 years ago.
Right.
Okay, to be able to go and do that. So, I sort of discount this identifying change with decline as change is hopefully inevitable. Okay, because I think lack of change is not decline, but stagnancy. And I don't think we have that to be able to go and do that. And so when we get around to having those discussions about attributes for a city manager candidate, avoiding stagnancy and making appropriate change is going to be important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brandstetter. Councilmember Laura Sella.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also participated in the Chief Leschi Honor Walk on Friday, and I really appreciated the tribe coming out and their connection to the land as someone who tries to spend as much time outside exploring and enjoying the land and having caught salmon on the Nisqually River and understanding all that the history is there. And our role to recognize their legacy to turn into being stewards of the land here, I think is really important. So I enjoyed the walk. I talked to several tribal members about that specifically, and just really appreciate that partnership that we have. At the end of that, I also stopped at the Tensler log, and I appreciate the care that the city staff took in getting it located there, as well as sealing it up well. And I was glad to hear the city manager talk about putting the dates back on the log because people were asking about it. It's something they remember from when it was at the library. Just ways to connect with, here, this was the year that, the Declaration of Independence was signed or Washington became a state and those sort of things, being able to connect that 2 times that tree was standing. It's really cool. So I'm glad to hear that that's coming back. Following the walk, I got to see a number of you at the groundbreaking. So I'm sure he'll probably talk about that more in depth, but that was a great experience to be out there with our Congresswoman to help improve the north end of our city. I want to again congratulate Ms. Corona Hernandez on the scholarship. The whole city council is proud of her and the whole city should be as well because she will do us proud and represent us well, ideally at the University of Washington and not Gonzaga. Unfortunate. I will be at the LMCC Gala on Saturday. Looking forward to seeing all of you there. Next week, I'm looking forward to hearing about the Nyanza project. A lot of neighbors have been asking about it and what that's going to look like in the timeline. I know that's on our agenda. So if folks are listening and want to hear about it, make sure you call in next week because that will be on the discussion. And then last, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Bell, and Deputy Mayor Moss for heading up the subcommittee for our recruiting process. I was glad to hear, Mr. Mayor, you talk about stakeholder engagement, including Chamber of Commerce, school board, leaders of our boards and commissions. I think it's also important to make sure we get representation from JBLM and our youth council. So as we build up that review group, I think we want to make sure we include them. Beyond that, that's all I got. Thank you.
Great ideas. Thank you for that. Councilmember Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I unfortunately was not able to attend the events on Friday, but I saw some pictures of them and looked like it was a nice day and well attended. So thank you for picking up slack for me. I went to the Puget Sound Regional Council meeting the last week, and it was a short meeting because they gave the introduction for Julie Meredith. She's the new WashDOT secretary. And then one of the items, as Mr. Caulfield had mentioned, that got approved on the consent agenda was certification of the comp plan for Lakewood. So that was a big deal. Props to city staff and planning commission and everyone that had bits and pieces and larger pieces than others to put that together. So, and then the EDB meeting was very fruitful, I think, for Lakewood. So I echo Mr. Boke's comments there. We had some great projects on the list of top 10. So when you think about all the work that's being done in, the county as a whole, and we have to compete with, like areas like Frederickson that are, have this like massive development, and then, the Port of Tacoma and the city of Tacoma itself, to see us up there with 3, that's pretty impressive. So keep up the good work, city staff and us, I think, for, kind of keeping us on the straight and narrow. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say congratulations to Ms. Hernandez again for her scholarship. That's just amazing work and wonderful things are going to be coming from her for the future, I'm sure of it. And I also attended the, I guess, the Connector event on Friday. And so I wanted to give a special thank you to Congresswoman Strickland and for her securing the federal funds for that. And she's just always a fantastic partner and supporter for Lakewood. So we appreciate that very, very much. And I will also be at the LMCC Gala this Saturday. So I am happy to support that and looking forward to it.
Deputy Mayor Moss. Are you going to the LMCC thing?
I'm thinking about it.
Just checking.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I wanted to congratulate and thank Alexandra Hernandez. She was instrumental when we had the Hispanic walk in the park. She took over my booth. She could speak Spanish, and it made all the difference in the world with the people walking through there because they were telling me yes, but they didn't have a clue what I was saying. And when she spoke up, you could see the difference. So I was really impressed. I was really happy with her. She's very good, and she's going to do great things and make us proud. I did attend the EDB luncheon. It was well attended, and yeah, kudos for Lakewood being amongst the top 10. And the groundbreaking, thank you so much for that. And kudos for our Congresswoman Strickland for supporting us in that. The welcome walk, was happy to see the horses back. Growing up on a farm, horses are fun. I will be attending this Tacoma African American Family History event on March 22nd, along with Mr. Dave Buer.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that is, they reached out and asked if I would participate in that. So I don't know what the details at this point, but I will be attending that. And the gala, I have to say, I am so excited. It has grown every year. The first year I was hoping for 100 people, I had 179. The second year I was hoping for 200, I had 197. This year our goal was 225 and we have 230 people signed up. So I'm really excited. It's a lot of fun and it's a celebration for the people that are doing great things in our community and recognizing and encouraging, especially our youth. Our youth will be participating in helping us with our check-in and escorts, and then they will be able to introduce themselves on stage and talk about what their goals are, the ones that are graduating, as well as talk about what they're doing in their classes, the juniors and that. So I'm excited. Thank you guys all for coming out to support me. I appreciate it. And that's it.
Did we have a choice? I felt my arm back here, but
We don't give much choices.
it'll be great. I appreciate all your leadership and goodwill on that. I know it's not been easy, so thank you for that. It'll be good. Great event. It was a busy week, so as we discussed tonight, we adopted the motion to have the agreement to move forward on the city manager search process. The committee had the recruitment interviews on Tuesday, so thank my subcommittee members, Deputy Mayor Moss and Councilmember Bell, for your effort on that. Friday, the Leschi Honor Walk was a great event. I enjoyed attending that. Actually, didn't think I was going to walk around the whole, mile loop that day, but I did. So I limped around and got her done, but it was a good event. And the South Tacoma groundbreaking shortly thereafter was another good event. As Councilmember Bell noted, we are appreciative of our federal delegation, especially Congresswoman Strickland, for her steadfast support of Lakewood. And we look forward to completion of that project and having her back for that. This Wednesday is the Puget Sound Regional Council Economic Development District Board meeting, so I will attend that on Wednesday. And then on Friday, I was invited to, and I had the city clerk forward to you an invite for a night of connection. It's the University of Washington Tacoma Military Connected Alumni Ceremony and Dinner, and I was asked to be the keynote speaker that night. They wanted me to extend an invitation. There's no cost if you'd like to attend. Just let us know so I can let Mr. Cooljam, who's the program director, know so we can have a table together if you want to do that. But Tom, yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, but he's heading up the program, and there are going to be, a few hundred people there probably. And it's a great way to connect with veterans who are going to get their education and are looking to connect and network and further their civilian careers. And so to the extent we can be positive influences and mentors along the path for them, I'm all for it. So let me know if you'd like to go for that. And then certainly I'll be at the gala on Saturday. Looking forward to that. The deputy mayor, she promised to dance, so I'll take her up on that. And then finally, just on the two public comments tonight, the one on the ivy eradication, not a bad comment. One thinks that maybe our urban forestry program, to the extent we have any funds in our tree fund, if you will, and might be worthy of spending some small monies on an education campaign. that can be fairly inexpensive but productive through our social media, maybe our website, maybe even postcards to folks that the importance of removing ivy from trees, because it's true that ivy can definitely kill some of these trees. And we see it around not just the oaks, but the firs. And so to the extent we can do what we can as a city in the rights of way, that's great. To the extent we can educate folks on the value of doing it themselves, that's even better. So not a bad comment. I do agree with Councilmember Brandstetter that comments about the city being in decline since incorporation are probably a little bit off the mark, in my humble opinion. As Mr. Caulfield indicated at some length, crime is down across the board through strategic initiatives promulgated by council and executed by Mr. Caulfield and the chief of police and staff. Our investment in infrastructure, parks and facilities and events in the multiples of millions have been well received and certainly appreciated by many, and economic activity is up, as many of you identified with the most recent Economic Development Board display of the top 10 projects in the South Sound, 4 of which occurred here in Lakewood. So I think there are many good things for us to be proud of. And yes, I will be guilty of being a person who tries to be positive, and I'll take that guilt all the way. And to the extent I may have said something to the effect that, gee, what a great start over at the QFC on the property that we acquired and are moving forward again for the benefit of the community. Yep, I'm pretty happy about a fresh start for something that's been an eyesore for this community for 10 to 15 years. So I won't apologize for being positive about positive change that impacts many. And perhaps it's because I try not to miss the forest for the trees. So any other comments or alibis for the good of the order? Absolutely, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to let you guys know that there is a concert at PLU. It's March 9th. And here's a flyer. It's really interesting. I don't know if you've ever gone to those, but it's interesting. It's very, it takes you to a different space. Yeah. So if any one of you would like to see this, I go there.
Rotate it around so folks can
Just
see
have
it.
to
That'd be
say
great.
go Lutz since we were.
Go Lutz, that's right, exactly.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
in light of your remarks tonight about keeping a positive attitude. No, actually, first of all, I want to say about the ivy, we have to do that because it is not considered a noxious weed by the Noxious Weed Control Board, so they won't go on site
Right.
and take it. It'll probably never make the noxious weed category. It would be considered an invasive species. So public education on our part, don't buy it, first of all. I mean, I don't think
We're
most
trimming away from
stores
the
even
base of your trees.
sell it anymore because they're really the first source where you tell the people who sell plants not to sell
Sure.
those kind of plants anymore, but because there is a particular ivy, I think it's English ivy. So that's in all seriousness, but
Sure.
maybe even more importantly in your light, just to keep things positive, I just want to say you look marvelous.
Oh, thank
tonight.
you. Thank you, Mr. Brookie.
And so I appreciate your leadership throughout the night, and I appreciate your comments about the changes at the QFC property. And I have no complaints about your leadership. And I think you've done a great job.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, I'll pay you later. Yeah, thanks. All right. See no further comments unless everyone wants to flower me with praise. We're adjourned.